Hola, soy Jack Perkins. Sean bienvenidos a Biografía. Malcolm X nació en Estados Unidos durante la época del jazz, una época de racismo galopante en la que los afroamericanos eran relegados a una segunda categoría social. El Ku Klux Klan era una fuerza nacional organizada y los negros tenían muy pocas oportunidades de progreso. Malcolm X realizó una serie de trabajos serviles que a la larga lo llevaron a una vida criminal. Pasó años en prisión, se convirtió al Islam y también en la voz de la esperanza para muchos afroamericanos. Malcolm solía decir: mis compañeros fueron las calles de Harlem y mi gran maestra la prisión. De criminal a líder carismático, Biografía echa un vistazo a la vida de Malcolm X.
Malcolm became one of the lowest forms of human beings you could become, according to his own testimony in his autobiography. Before he reached his 21st birthday, he was locked up.
Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
We're talking about a guy who began his adult life as a hustler, doing every kind of drug available in the streets of Harlem, sexually promiscuous, a true sinner who purified himself through a religious conversion.
When they are being brutally and unjustly attacked, then the Negroes themselves should take whatever steps necessary to defend themselves.
When he spoke, he struck home to the crux of the matter. He'd hit you with the truth, just like someone would hit you in the head with a blunt instrument and bat your head open.
We must have separation in order to be equal. We must have separation in order to have freedom. We must have separation in order to have justice.
Malcolm X, en búsqueda de una identidad.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Would you mind telling me what your father's last name was?
My father didn't know his last name. The last name of my forefathers was taken from them when they were brought to America and made slaves. And then the name of the slave master was given, which we refuse. We reject that name today.
You mean you won't even tell me what your father's supposed last name was or gifted last name was?
I never acknowledge it whatsoever.
Aunque no reconocía su nombre al final de su vida, fue presentado como Malcolm Little el 19 de mayo de 1925 en Omaha, Nebraska. Fue el cuarto hijo de Louis y Earl Little, de Georgia y Grenada respectivamente. Earl, un ministro bautista, trabajaba en la construcción para alimentar a su familia. La niñez de Malcolm estuvo fuertemente influenciada por la participación de sus padres en el movimiento separatista de Marcus Garvey. Garvey predicaba que los negros debían formar su propia nación fuera de Estados Unidos y separados de los blancos.
The Garvey movement largely represented blacks who were not professionals, not largely lawyers and doctors. At least they were not prominent so much. They certainly reached down to get the masses of black people who were not in the mainstream largely of the African American community.
Para entonces, el Ku Klux Klan era poderoso en el norte. En Omaha, el Klan amenazó a Little antes que Malcolm naciera por ser simpatizante de Garvey. Fue más fácil mudarse que luchar. Earl lleva a su familia primero a Milwaukee, después a Indiana y finalmente a Michigan en 1928. Earl y Louis ya tenían 4 niños y una niña, pero a pesar de los peligros, Earl Little continuó trabajando con Garvey.
He didn't have a permanent church, but he was a preacher. So he traveled from place to place, promoting Marcus Garvey movement, the separatist movement, and at the same time trying to preach the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He saw no conflicts between the two. Now, Malcolm used to travel with his father as he would talk about Garvey and talk in the churches about Jesus Christ. Malcolm learned to love the talk about Garvey, but he didn't like so much the talk about Jesus Christ.
Fue una buena idea establecerse en los estados centrales industrializados. Earl consiguió trabajo. Con 5 hijos y 2 hijas, Earl y Louis estaban absortos con el cuidado de su familia. Las peleas entre Malcolm y sus hermanos a veces eran contenciosas, ya que competían por la atención de sus padres. La vida no era fácil para Malcolm y su familia, pero el trabajo arduo de su padre y sus plegarias llenaban la mesa. Luego vino la Gran Depresión y todo cambió.
In Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, places like that, the loss of jobs for African Americans was devastating. Chances are, if you were black, you were poor.
En 1929, cuando Malcolm tenía 4 años, su casa fue destruida por un incendio. Su padre creía que el clan era responsable, pero no había pruebas. Little construyó una nueva casa, sin agua potable ni sanitario interno. La familia cultivaba vegetales, criaba conejos y gallinas. Él le asignaba tareas diarias a cada uno de sus hijos, algunas en el jardín y otras en la casa. Era un padre recio y los golpeaba cuando desobedecían.
Malcolm's mother and father were violent in their relationship to each other. Malcolm talks about his father, expressing the frustrations that he experienced in the society, in the context of the family. And that created a great deal of tension within the family. In fact, Malcolm claims that it was from the fight between his mother and his father that led his father to leave that day he was killed.
En 1931, cuando Malcolm tenía 6 años, su padre murió. Cayó o fue empujado desde un tranvía una noche. La policía informó que su pierna derecha había quedado aplastada y su brazo izquierdo parcialmente mutilado por las ruedas traseras. Aunque los funcionarios dijeron que había sido un accidente, Malcolm creía que había sido asesinado por el Ku Klux Klan debido a sus opiniones separatistas. Pero Malcolm nunca habló públicamente sobre la muerte de su padre.
This particular experience left the family destitute, and so Malcolm grew up in a very difficult situation in which he had very little reinforcement for his self-esteem in the environment in which he lived.
En los años 30, ninguno de los 7 niños comía lo suficiente. Pan robado, cebollas silvestres y hojas de armagón solían ser el único alimento del día. Malcolm comía solo en la escuela y rara vez compartía el almuerzo con sus compañeros.
For Malcolm, going to a predominantly white school, for example, feeling alienated from the dominant culture, feeling as if he really had very few friends and his white friends pretty much shunned him, that could have deep psychological effects on Malcolm.
Era alto, bien parecido, pelirrojo, de piel clara, diferente, incluso dentro de su propia familia.
Much of the color symbolism was reflected in the context of that family. Malcolm's mother was very light complexion. And so Malcolm's father was a very dark complexion man. So the children's were mixed. Some were dark, some were light. Malcolm was a light red, very much like his mother in color. So his mother was hard on him. She wanted Malcolm to get in the sun and put some black on him.
Malcolm se convirtió en un niño conflictivo después de la muerte de su padre. Para su madre era difícil supervisar sola a la familia. Aunque era un buen estudiante, Malcolm se había convertido en un problema disciplinario y fue cambiado de una escuela a otra. Sin embargo, fue elegido presidente de su clase en 7º grado. Años más tarde se dio cuenta de que esta había sido su primera experiencia con el tokenismo, esto es, admisión nominal de las minorías para aplacar la opinión pública.
Being the only African American or one of a few also makes you an exotic. He did get a lot of attention, and people noticed him wherever he went. It's also an unusual situation to be not only young, black, poor, in a predominantly white community, but to be as intelligent and as articulate as he was, which made him, in some respects, an automatic leader, even among his peers.
Como sus maestros no podían manejarlo, en 8º grado fue colocado en un hogar de cuidado blanco en Mason, Michigan. Las autoridades pensaron que estos predios lo calmarían. Pronto fue el primero de su clase, pero sus deseos de llegar a ser alguien rápidamente se desvanecieron.
In fact, when he was in the 8th grade, the incident that forced him to drop out of school, embarrassed him, made him feel like he was not important, was when his teacher asked him, what he wanted to be when he would grow up. And he said he wanted to be a lawyer, an attorney. And his teacher said to him, Malcolm, you have to be a little more realistic than that, because you can't be that and a nigger at the same time. Being a lawyer is no realistic expectation for a nigger, he said.
Se sintió desconsolado y abandonó la escuela. Tenía 14 años. Después de la Segunda Guerra Mundial, la vida era especialmente dura para los negros. El hermano mayor de Malcolm, Wilfred, y su hermana Hilda trataban desesperadamente de mantener unida a la familia. Su madre, Louise, que ya tenía 6 hijos, estaba embarazada. Se desconocía quién era el padre. Louise había ido perdiendo el contacto con la realidad. Después de dar a luz, la encontraron vagando en la nieve descalza y con el niño entre sus brazos. Fue declarada legalmente enajenada y recluida en el Hospital Estatal de Kalamazoo. Ahora, sin padre ni madre, Malcolm quedaba a la deriva.
He could not be just like the white children, and thus being shown in many ways that he could not be accepted just like anybody else. And this tension grew in Malcolm, so much so that he dropped out of the dominant society.
La escuela ya no tenía sentido para Malcolm. Sus maestros no lograban disciplinarlo. A veces robaba. Pero en su horizonte había algo nuevo. Su hermanastra, Ella, hija del primer matrimonio de su padre, vino a Boston a visitar a la familia. Luego de regresar a casa, le pidió a Malcolm que se quedara con ella durante el verano. Sabía que su hermanastro estaba viviendo momentos difíciles y se lo llevó para alejarlo. Pero Malcolm tenía otros planes. Boston le había abierto los ojos.
Boston was the big city, and he was treated by his peers immediately as a kind of country bumpkin, backwards, young, and one way to escape that country baggage was to enter a kind of cool subculture, in this case of the zoot suit, of the hipster, a kind of underground, predominantly male youth culture that was raging in the late 30s and early 40s.
Después del verano, Malcolm regresa a Lansing, donde su familia seguía luchando por sobrevivir. Se sentía aislado y le escribe a Ella que desea vivir en Boston. Ella le da la bienvenida. En febrero de 1941 regresa a la ciudad que cambiaría su vida para siempre. La muerte de su padre y la reclusión de su madre, Malcolm se siente muy solo, ya que era uno de los pocos negros en el este de Lansing, y con 15 años regresa a la sección negra de Boston. Una vez allí, le da a su hermana más problemas de los que podría manejar.
She literally went around the streets looking for him, because, he came to Boston, like he was a country boy. And he, of course, had to do a lot of ducking and dodging because there were a lot of relatives who lived in Boston at that time. And he just became completely dazzled by everything and wanted to get out there.
Malcolm wanted to be like the blacks at the dance hall, the ballroom hall. He wanted to be like the blacks who were not ashamed of who they were and who live in the underworld. And he became a part of it.
When you go to a place like the Roseland Ballroom, for example, they were packed full of young people, men dressed in zoot suits, young women who sort of identified with the hipster culture.
Malcolm adquiere un traje sobrio. Luego se somete al doloroso proceso de desrizar su cabello con lejía, papas crudas y huevos. Comenzaba una nueva vida. Aunque Ella deseaba que fuera abogado, las ideas de Malcolm iban en otra dirección. Después de sentirse forastero durante años, finalmente había encontrado un lugar con el cual se identificaba.
They embraced him because, one, he was articulate. They embraced him because he ended up being a very good dancer. He was stylish. He was able to put on a suit of clothes and look like a changed person, a brand new person, and step out of his background and into kind of a whole new world.
Parte de ese mundo eran los salones de pool, predios de apostadores, timadores, estafadores y pequeños criminales.
I used to play pool in this pool room every day. And Malcolm had a reputation in Roxbury at that time of being one of the best dressed men in town with the famous zoot suit. And he was standing on the sidelines watching the fellas shoot pool.
Un día en el salón de pool, Malcolm Jarvis hace un excelente tiro y en medio de la emoción pierde su reloj.
And I looked at Malcolm and I said, "You didn't see it, did you?" Because he was a newcomer. And he had a smirk on his face. And I walked up to him quick with my hands in those days, grabbed him and I drew back to hit him. And when I did, somebody grabbed my arm and said to me, "No, he didn't take your watch. Somebody else got your watch and they're gone." Now I was in the process of apologizing to him, straightening out his shirt. "Man, I'm sorry. I falsely accused you," and so on and so on. That was the beginning of our friendship.
The fancy clothes to survive.
Malcolm tenía que realizar trabajos de esclavo para sobrevivir, trabajos serviles y para negros. Fungía como mesonero en el tren, limpiaba las mesas y los pisos. En los clubs nocturnos donde conoció a los comediantes de moda, limpiaba zapatos. El trabajo le generaba dinero para comer y le daba tiempo libre para desarrollar sus destrezas como criminal novato.
Malcolm was, in my opinion, a beautiful con artist. He was a thinker. And he learned these things from street smarts, I call it. From living on the streets and being around people in the hustling world. He could meet you on the street, as I've told it many times, and be broke, and talk you out of your last $2, and you'd give it to him with enthusiasm.
El trabajo en tren le permitía viajar libremente, por lo general entre Boston y Harlem, en Nueva York.
Now, Harlem was the capital of not just the hipster culture, the capital of the black world. And so going to Harlem for Malcolm was like going to Harlem for a lot of African Americans. It was entering the most exciting place you can possibly be.
Malcolm, quien ya formaba parte de la subcultura de Boston, se introduce en el mundo de la economía subterránea del robo en Harlem. Se vuelve proxeneta y traba citas entre hombres blancos y prostitutas negras. Durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial, Malcolm se convierte en asaltante, vende números y marihuana. Frecuenta los clubs de jazz, vende y usa toda clase de drogas.
Clubs where jazz was performed were places of exchange for drug dealers and users. And so the whole world that surrounded Malcolm was also one infested with drugs. And so it was hard for him to escape that possibility.
A pesar del atractivo de Harlem, Malcolm siempre regresaba a Boston, a Roxbury, donde era admirado por su particular forma de vestir y su carisma.
He was like a Romeo, and I say that. The girls were all after him. He was the type of person that when he walked down the street, he would command attention. With that blood red hair he had, and with that zoot suit on, the girls were all in love with him.
En las Navidades de 1945, incitado por su constante necesidad de aventuras, participa en una serie de robos en Cambridge, junto a Jarvis y 3 mujeres blancas. Una de ellas era su novia.
We went out stealing for 2 weeks. For fun, kid. Somebody in the gang said, "Oh, let's go out and break in somebody's house for fun." Being adventurous as young people like to be. We certainly wasn't doing it for money. We were making our own livelihoods in our own rights. So for fun for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks we stopped.
Finalmente es arrestado cuando intentaba recuperar un reloj que había empeñado. La banda fue atrapada, acusada y juzgada en enero de 1946. Malcolm y Shorty no podían pagar la fianza y permanecían bajo arresto en una celda de la corte. Según Jarvis, los detectives y acusadores estaban enfurecidos porque esas mujeres blancas habían socializado con hombres negros.
They tried to get the girls to say that we had raped them. The girls wouldn't hear that because they knew better. They sentenced the girls to 5 years in a reformatory and gave them a suspended sentence and set them free.
Malcolm Little, quien aún no tenía 21 años, y Malcolm Jarvis fueron sentenciados a 10 años de prisión.
We were not hardened criminals. We didn't feel that we deserved that kind of time as first offenders. So we were given that time mostly because of our associating with white girls.
It was very difficult for Malcolm not to be put in jail and not to get in trouble with the law because of the context of the world in which he was living. And it was in prison that his life was transformed.
En prisión, Malcolm hizo un pacto con Jarvis. Aprenderían todo lo posible para no salir de la prisión como estúpidos, según el propio Jarvis. La vida en prisión fue algo que nunca antes habían conocido.
The cell you lived in was 6 by 12. You had a hard cot to lay on, one table, one small stool, a bucket of water, no running water, and a bucket for defecation. It was unsanitary, unclean, and filthy.
Con todos esos años por delante, los dos amigos se dedicaron a estudiar. Leían en las noches hasta que sus ojos ya no podían más. Malcolm se autoeducó, puliendo sus habilidades como orador. Mientras que estaba en prisión, los hermanos de Malcolm, Wilfred y Philbert, se habían hecho miembros de la Nación del Islam, un pequeño movimiento separatista negro en Detroit, liderizado por Elijah Muhammad, antiguo seguidor de Marcus Garvey. Los hermanos de Malcolm lo instaron a convertirse, argumentando que en esta religión habían encontrado una forma de vida para la supervivencia. Al principio, Malcolm se resistió, después accedió y su vida se transformó.
He saw Christianity as the white man's religion, as the religion of black people who wanted to become like white people. But here in the black Muslim, the Nation of Islam, he encountered a religion that reinforced his identity as a black person and enabled himself to love himself as a black person.
He didn't have a particular love for white people, and they used to call him Satan at one time because they thought he was evil. A lot of the white inmates especially used to call him that.
En 1952, después de 6 años y medio en prisión, Malcolm Little fue liberado bajo palabra. Salió vistiendo un traje de $10. Se trasladó a Michigan para unirse a su hermano mayor Wilfred. Detroit transformaría su vida nuevamente. 6 años y medio en prisión, Malcolm fue liberado en agosto de 1952. En Detroit, trabaja con su hermano Wilfred y se une a la mezquita de la Nación del Islam. Trabaja arduamente para ser aceptado y para ganar su X, su nuevo nombre para una nueva vida como musulmán negro, para reemplazar el nombre de esclavo impuesto a sus antepasados. Poco después va a Chicago, sede central de la Nación del Islam, donde conoce a Elijah Muhammad. Se convierte oficialmente en Malcolm X. Su conversión religiosa era un hecho.
It is an about-face, a complete turnaround, a totally new life, in which Malcolm, who was the criminal, now becomes a minister in the religion of Islam.
When Malcolm came out of prison, the Nation of Islam was a quite isolated little sect of about 400 souls. He would tell Muhammad, you've got to bring this message to a much larger audience.
So he became a recruiter, one who went out and fished, as he said, for others to become a part of the Nation of Islam.
The Negro will be serving notice that no longer does he believe in turning the other cheek and being the constant victim of someone else's brutality.
El mensaje de Elijah Muhammad era claro. La Nación del Islam no necesitaba al pueblo blanco ni de su sociedad. La autoestima del negro estaba por encima de todo, y con ella un país separado dentro de los Estados Unidos solo para los negros. Como alternativa, debía permitírsele a los negros regresar a su tierra, África.
We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
The message was always this is a racist society. White folks are not going to rescue you. Forget about the civil rights movement. Forget about the civil rights legislation.
You will never get real freedom and recognition between black and white people in this country without destroying the country, without destroying the...
El mensaje aterrorizó a los estadounidenses blancos, a los negros americanos, quienes observaban el crecimiento del movimiento por los derechos humanos, les pareció demasiado extremista. En 1954, en el caso Brown contra la Junta de Educadores, la Corte Suprema sentenció que las escuelas públicas debían integrarse. En 1955, Rosa Parks inició el boicot al autobús Montgomery, rehusándose a ocupar los puestos traseros. Martin Luther King, de 26 años, comenzó su ascenso como líder en la lucha integracionista.
The Negro citizens of Montgomery, Alabama will return to the buses on a non-segregated basis.
Mientras tanto, la Nación del Islam luchaba por entrar al Congreso.
Malcolm became the chief evangelist for the Nation of Islam, and he would go from city to city with great success.
Como premio, Elijah designó a Malcolm jefe del Templo 7 en Nueva York. Así se convirtió en el representante nacional de la Nación del Islam.
And is regarded very highly as the number 2 person in the Nation of Islam. And it will be being regarded as the number 2 person that will eventually lead to all kinds of jealousy within the movement.
Elijah trataba a Malcolm como a un hijo y le aconseja casarse por el bien del movimiento. En enero de 1958, a los 32 años, Malcolm contrae matrimonio con Betty Sanders, una joven y alta mujer que había asistido a la universidad y se preparaba para ser enfermera. Se mudaron a una pequeña casa en East Elmhurst, Queens, propiedad de la Nación del Islam. En noviembre de ese mismo año nace la primera de sus 5 hijas, Atala. Malcolm era un padre dedicado y un buen esposo, pero casi nunca estaba en casa. Su trabajo de misionero estaba primero. Los negros habían sido oprimidos durante cientos de años. Era hora de tomar posición.
In the areas of the country where the government has proven itself unable and, or unwilling to defend the Negroes when they are being brutally and unjustly attacked, then the Negroes themselves should take whatever steps necessary to defend themselves.
Debido a los esfuerzos de Malcolm y su carisma personal, el movimiento crecía rápidamente.
Malcolm was very easy to grab hold to because Malcolm was John Wayne. Malcolm was all the things in the movie that we saw about our heroes. Our heroes didn't take nothing from nobody, and they always had the best lines.
Tall, lean, handsome, magnetic, a brilliant smile, dazzling smile.
Malcolm estaba en todas partes. Asistía a reuniones en universidades, pronunciaba discursos en las calles, aparecía en programas de radio y televisión. Mientras más partes del país visitaba, más cambiaba su filosofía.
For Elijah Muhammad, the movement was strictly religious. Allah would be the one that would punish the white devil. Malcolm, however, did not want to wait on God.
Era el comienzo de una brecha entre Malcolm y la Nación del Islam, pero algo se avistaba en el horizonte que abriría aún más esa brecha. Malcolm descubrió que Elijah podría ser el padre de 8 hijos ilegítimos. Pensó que si la historia resultaba cierta, perjudicaría mucho al movimiento. Convocó a los ministros de su confianza para advertirles sobre el peligro.
All 3 of the people he told immediately blew the whistle on him, called headquarters in Chicago and said, Malcolm is blaspheming against the messenger. He was the object of a lot of jealousy, so I think those people were motivated partly by jealousy. One of them was Louis Farrakhan.
Malcolm's finding out that Elijah Muhammad was actually the biggest hypocrite of all was quite devastating to him. It took the very foundation upon which he was standing out from under his feet.
Se le limitó el acceso a Elijah. Rara vez era citado en el Muhammad Habla, el periódico que él mismo había creado. A pesar de sus problemas, Malcolm continuó predicando el Evangelio de la Nación del Islam.
Give us a chance to solve our own problem among ourselves on some land of our own, instead of continually trying to force us into white society, where the white society knows we're absolutely not wanted.
Now, Malcolm did not see how you could get freedom for African Americans by trying to be like white people. He did not see that whites would ever accept us fully as human beings. So for him, he didn't see why it is that the civil rights movement fought so hard to be integrated at the lunch counter for a cup of coffee, because he felt that a cup of coffee was a small price to pay for 250 years of slavery.
Mientras el movimiento por los derechos civiles cobraba fuerza, la Nación del Islam permanecía al margen alentando sus sueños de separatismo. Aunque la fe religiosa de Malcolm permanecía intacta, incursionaba en el mundo de la política y avanzaba hacia una confrontación inevitable con Elijah Muhammad. Las diferencias cada vez mayores entre Malcolm y la Nación del Islam no trascendían al exterior. Para todos, Malcolm era más incondicional y devoto que nunca.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the only solution for the problem is that our people, of which there are now 22 million, be involved in a mass exodus back to our own homeland.
Aunque seguía la línea del partido, Malcolm se aisló cada vez más de Elijah y de su entorno. El asesinato del presidente Kennedy el 22 de noviembre de 1963 le dio a la Nación del Islam la oportunidad para limitar la influencia creciente de Malcolm.
Elijah Muhammad did not want anybody talking about the death of Kennedy, the reason being that he was a beloved figure not only in white America but in black America.
El 1 de diciembre, Malcolm dio un discurso convencional, pero cuando se retiraba comenzó a responder preguntas de los reporteros. La primera fue sobre la muerte de Kennedy.
He said it was a case of the chickens coming home to roost. It was exactly what he shouldn't have said in terms of his relations with Elijah Muhammad. So he had handed his enemies a sword.
Elijah Muhammad sabía que el silencio era su mejor arma contra Malcolm. Lo suspendió por 3 meses. En enero de 1964, Malcolm tuvo una reunión secreta con Elijah en Phoenix y supo que no tenía la menor oportunidad de rehabilitarse. Sus ideas se habían vuelto demasiado peligrosas para la Nación del Islam y para la estructura de poder de Muhammad.
They didn't want Malcolm to succeed Elijah Muhammad as the leader of the movement. And the best way to do that was to make sure that Malcolm was marginalized and expelled.
Malcolm comenzó a recibir amenazas de muerte por teléfono, en cartas y hasta en las calles. Después de 3 meses de silencio, en marzo de 1964, luego de una intensa reflexión espiritual, Malcolm abandona la Nación del Islam para formar su propia organización, la Mezquita Musulmana.
He wants to join the civil rights movement to broaden its scope, so as to make it much more militant, infuse some militancy in it.
Tras su prolongado silencio, Malcolm lleva su nuevo mensaje a todas partes con energía renovada. En Washington, durante una audiencia sobre los derechos civiles, se encuentra accidentalmente con Martin Luther King Jr. por única vez. Durante esta corta reunión, intercambian opiniones sin importancia. En abril, pronuncia un destacado discurso.
The ballot is as powerful as the bullet. At least they're both important. And if you don't use the ballot, you're going to have to use the bullet.
La Nación del Islam, en su empeño por execrar a Malcolm, solicita el desalojo a Betty y a sus 3 hijas de la casa de su propiedad. Malcolm y su familia no se mueven. Poco después, su sentido religioso como misionero lo lleva a aceptar una oportunidad única en su vida, un peregrinaje a la Meca. Este viaje cambió los cimientos de su ideología.
I didn't see any racism. I didn't see any conflict between the people over there because of the colors of their skin or the differences in color of skin.
Muchos en Estados Unidos pensaban que Malcolm había modificado sus opiniones extremistas.
What most whites wanted Malcolm to say and to do was to act as if racism had been eliminated. Therefore, I like all white people. And Malcolm could never say that.
En 1964, Malcolm formó la Organización de la Unidad Afroamericana, creada para llegar a los negros de todo el mundo como una expresión de hermandad.
Unlike the other leaders of that time, Malcolm X had a foreign policy. He was treated in Africa when he traveled around almost like he was the Secretary of State, you know, from black folks in America to the rest of the world.
Pero el gobierno estadounidense veía a Malcolm como un revolucionario.
Malcolm was a haunted man and a hunted man. Agents of the American government, both of the State Department and the CIA, were monitoring his movements around Africa. He gets home and the climate is tindery hot.
Muhammad Habla, periódico de la Nación del Islam, publicaba frecuentemente artículos incitadores en contra de Malcolm.
The most notorious was one written by Louis Farrakhan, then Louis X, who had been a protege of Malcolm's. Malcolm himself described it as a death warrant.
Las amenazas continuaron desde diciembre del 64 hasta enero del 65. Incluso sufrió algunos atentados contra su vida perpetrados por algunas personas inspiradas en la Nación del Islam.
I said, if you think for one moment that these brothers are not going to try to take you out, you're mistaken.
But he knew he was hunted, and he knew his days were numbered, I think.
Durante las primeras horas de la mañana del 14 de febrero, su casa es incendiada.
Except for a lucky stroke of fate, he and his family, including 4 quite small children, and his wife, who was pregnant with twins, would have died.
I really think Malcolm didn't want to die. I mean, he knew he was going to be killed. I knew he was going to be killed.
Malcolm traslada a su familia y prosigue con su misión, dando discursos en Detroit y Nueva York. A la semana siguiente del incendio, algunos observadores lo describen como muy tenso. El sábado 20 de febrero, un día antes del discurso en el salón de baile Audible en Harlem, se registra en el Hotel Hilton en Manhattan.
I think he enjoyed the luxuries. He used to kid about it. He'd say, now I know what white folks have been hiding from us all these years.
Aún escondido, las llamadas amenazadoras a su casa continúan. El domingo en la mañana, Malcolm telefonea a Dick Gregory en Chicago y le pregunta si debe presentarse al discurso.
And Malcolm sounded kind of sad, but Malcolm knew something was going to happen, you know. And then I said, I love you. And I would have liked to say, see you when I get back, but I knew better.
Antes del discurso, Malcolm hacía planes para viajar al sur durante el fin de semana.
I went backstage and I was talking to him. And I remember thinking for the first time that he really looked harried.
He gets to the lectern, does the traditional Muslim greeting.
And I heard him say, Assalamu alaikum.
Somebody leaps up and says, nigger, get your hands out of my pockets.
And then the next thing I heard was the shots. And when I heard the shots, I jumped up and I ran through the doors into the main room. And it sounded to me like literally hundreds of shots.
The first blast killed him, riddled his chest.
And I heard, people screaming and getting knocked down, and I got knocked down on the floor.
2 more guys come up, one with a Luger and one, I believe, with a .45, and pump bullets into his dead body, his dying body.
So I laid on the floor till I heard the shooting stop. Then I jumped up and I ran down and I jumped on stage. And I saw him, laying there on stage, and someone had pulled his shirt open, and I saw the bullet holes in his body.
El 21 de febrero de 1965, a los 31 años, Malcolm X es asesinado por 3 hombres, todos miembros de la Nación del Islam.
He died for what he believed in. He believed with his whole heart, soul, and mind in the struggle of the Afro-Americans in this country.
Una semana después, miles de personas asistieron al funeral de Malcolm X en Harlem. La gente estaba aturdida por su muerte. La América negra había perdido a su poderoso líder. Luego de transitar una vida de conflictos e incertidumbres, de vivir como proxeneta y criminal, Malcolm X se convirtió en un defensor de su pueblo y finalmente en un hombre de Dios. Pero la controversia sobre su muerte es una garantía de que ésta no quedará en el olvido. Malcolm X fue enterrado en Hartsdale, Nueva York, el 22 de febrero de 1965. Durante toda su vida fue incondicional en cuanto a sus expectativas para el pueblo afroamericano. Durante 30 años, el legado de Malcolm X ha sido una fuente de controversias tan tremendas como las que rodean su muerte. En 1995, estas pasiones y dudas recobraron fuerza.
Ever since the black leader Malcolm X was assassinated 3 decades ago, his family has been convinced that the Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan was involved. Farrakhan was certainly a bitter rival, and today one of Malcolm X's daughters has been arrested and accused of trying to arrange for Mr. Farrakhan to be murdered.
En 1965, Qubela Shabbat tenía 4 años. Estaba sentada junto a su madre y sus 3 hermanas cerca de la tarima cuando mataron a su padre. 30 años después, se le juzga por una conspiración para asesinar a Louis Farrakhan, el primer rival de su padre en la nación del Islam. A pesar de su violenta oposición a Malcolm X por los favores de El-Hayam, Farrakhan niega cualquier relación con el asesinato de Malcolm X.
No, I was not in any way involved in his murder. I said such a man as Malcolm is worthy of death. And were it not for Elijah Muhammad's faith in God, it would have been so. I was very angry with Malcolm for what Malcolm had done. I was hurt by his assassination. I can't say that I approved, and I really didn't disapprove. I was numb.
Los cargos contra Qubela Shabbat desataron una serie de acusaciones, teorías de conspiración y alianzas cambiantes.
Lawyers for both Ms. Shabazz and Mr. Farrakhan charged that a government informant lured her into a plot.
Although Shabazz did not plead guilty, she also admitted that a statement she made last December, where she said killing Farrakhan was her idea, was substantially true. But outside of court, she disavowed the confession.
But it was coerced. It was coerced. It was coerced.
Now, instead of going on trial on charges that carried a prison term of up to 90 years, Shabazz is getting what amounts to 2 years probation.
Esta secuencia surrealista de acontecimientos se prolongó hasta una semana después de la audiencia, cuando quienes fueron sus enemigos acérrimos se presentaron como aparentes aliados.
At New York's Apollo Theater last night, Betty Shabazz, the widow of Malcolm X, and Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan, tried to make amends after a 30-year rift. At a fundraiser hosted by Farrakhan to benefit her family, Mrs. Shabazz thanked her husband's one-time enemy for his support.
No fue una tregua fácil, pero fue una muestra del impacto que Malcolm X sigue teniendo 3 décadas después de su muerte y de que su legado aún puede encender pasiones intensas.
What did he leave? He didn't leave no buildings. You know, I say he left changed minds. And that's the most lasting thing.
He was a field general in the movement. And he was loved for that. And he will be loved for a long, long time for his ethics and for his integrity.
The goal he had in mind was to teach our people to rise up in this world, to defeat racism anywhere it reared its ugly head.
My personal problem is never solved as long as the problem is not solved for all of our people in this country. So I remain Malcolm X as long as there is a need to protest and struggle and fight against the injustices that our people are involved in this country.
Malcolm X llevó una vida de crecimiento y cambios continuos. Durante los últimos años de su vida luchó para encontrar su espiritualidad. Para sus seguidores no hay duda de que estaba predestinado a la grandeza. Quizás a un cargo público. Pero cuando fue asesinado, sus sueños quedaron truncados. Sin embargo, su enseñanza perdura y sigue siendo fuente de inspiración para muchos. Para Biografía, soy Jack Perkins. Hasta la próxima.